Our sermon today is Jesus Parables. It's not one continuous story, so there are a lot of intermissions between things as we clean up from one, literally clean up from one, and get ready for the next one. So we crave your indulgence.
Jesus taught many lessons by telling stories called parables. Today, we would like to share some of those parables with you. These parables show how Jesus wants us to live and how we should treat others.
Our first story is about a woman who lost a coin. Her friends told her to forget it, but the coin was important to her, and the woman was determined to find it, so she continued to search every corner of her house.
When at last the woman discovered the missing coin, she called all her friends to celebrate that what was lost had been found.
Let's have Although it may be sad to lose a coin, it is much sadder when a son is lost. In our next story, a rich man had 2 sons. One day, the younger son asked the father to give him his share of the family money so he could leave home and live on his own. He packed his belongings and traveled to a far country where he wasted all the money he had been given.
When his money ran out and he was starving, the younger son realized how foolish he had been and decided to return home. He would tell his family how sorry he was and see if they would let him work as a servant. But his father welcomed the son with open arms and a loving heart, celebrating that the son who was lost had now been found.
Kill the fatted calf, kill the old red rooster. I'm as happy, I'm as joyful as ever I could be. Kill the fatted calf, kill the old red rooster, for my son has returned to me. Once I was sad and gloomy, once I was all depressed. Trouble was getting to me. Life was a drag at best. Now there's a new door open. Bells never cease to ring. Now there's a cause for hoping. I've got a song to sing. I'm gonna kill the fatty calf, kill the old red rooster, as happy and as joyful as ever I can be. Kill the fatty calf, kill the old red rooster, for my song has returned to me.
This is one of those things. Okay. Time to build your house. Time to build your house. Sarah May. Here, put your foot up. Thank you.
Acted foolishly. In the same way, God loves us and forgives us when we have acted foolishly. The lost are always welcomed home by God.
Our next story is about a wise and a foolish builder.
wise to build our lives on the teachings of Jesus. Jesus told many stories to explain what the kingdom of heaven is like. This one tells about a man who invited his friends to a feast.
A certain man held a feast on his fine estate in town. He laid a festive table and wore a wedding gown. He sent invitations to his neighbors far and wide. But when the meal was ready, each of them replied, "I cannot come." The master rose up in anger, called his servants by name, said, "Go into the town, fetch the blind and the lame, fetch the peasant and the pauper, for this I have willed. My banquet must be crowded, and my table must be filled. I cannot come." When all the poor had assembled, there was still room to spare. So the master demanded, "Go search everywhere, to the highways and the byways, and force them to come in. My table must be filled before the banquet can begin. I cannot come." Now God has written a lesson for the rest of mankind. If we're slow in responding, He may leave us behind. He's preparing a banquet for that great and glorious day. When the Lord and Master calls us, be certain not to say, "I cannot come."
Welcome at God's heavenly banquet. Another parable compares the kingdom of heaven to a tiny mustard seed.
I know my frame is
trying to find my way. I'll grow in faith and grow in hope and grow in love each day. For Jesus told of a mustard seed, it's small as it can be, and yet the plant from this tiny seed grows up amazingly. I'm glad I know of the mustard seed that springs from fertile sod. The way it grows is a sign that shows the awesome power of God. I'm not as big as a mountain top. I'm not a shining star. But my faith, my hope, and my love can grow to reach out, to reach out. God knows how far, how far, how far. Just as the tiny mustard seed grows into a large tree with far-reaching branches, God's love can grow inside us and spread to everyone we meet.
Our last piece is called A Modern Parable. It was composed by Sue Ellen Page, who was a master of children's music, composing many pieces using Orff instruments, tuned percussion instruments, xylophones, metallophones, such as some of our young people would be playing. The text of this piece is a poem which uses raindrops as a metaphor for God's love. You will hear the raindrops on the piano and also on the Orff instruments, and you may even experience symbols of God's love being spread throughout the land.
And this is story.
Thank you all very much for sharing with us the stories of Jesus so that we might know God's love more fully. We are grateful for every single one of you. You are a gift to our church and a gift in this world, and we are so grateful to be in ministry alongside you. Thank you.